Captain Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the Earth's first embassy station, her reflection ghosting against the reinforced plasteel window as she watched the approaching Myraxian diplomatic vessel. The sleek craft's crystal-like hull caught starlight in impossible patterns, a reminder of just how far ahead alien technology was compared to humanity's best efforts. There early, Lieutenant James Rodriguez noted beside her, adjusting his dress uniform's collar. The ceremonial projectile rifle strapped to his back, a requirement from their visitors, felt oddly anachronistic against the backdrop of pulsing quantum drives and gravitic stabilizers. "The Myraxians are always early," Sarah replied, her voice steady despite the tension coiling in her stomach. "They consider it a sign of superiority." 3 months of first contact protocols had taught her more about alien politics than she'd ever wanted to know. The diplomatic vessel docked with impossible precision, not even a tremor running through the station's deck. As the airlock cycled, Sarah straightened her shoulders. This meeting would determine humanity's place among the stars, or lack thereof. High Ambassador Corex emerged first, his crystalline form catching and refracting light in mesmerizing patterns. Behind him, 4 other Myraxian officials followed, their translucent bodies housing swirling clouds of what humans had learned was their equivalent of organs. Captain Chen, Corex's translator, rendered his harmonic tones into English. "We trust you've considered our proposal." Sarah nodded, gesturing toward the station's main conference room. "We have, Ambassador. Though I must admit, a marksmanship competition seems an unusual requirement for galactic membership." Corex's inner lights pulsed in what Sarah had learned was amusement. "The galaxy is vast and often dangerous, Captain. Any species seeking to join the Confederation must prove they can defend themselves and others." He paused, his crystalline form shifting slightly. "Though given humanity's primitive projectile weapons, perhaps we should consider a different trial." Sarah felt Rodriguez tense beside her, but maintained her diplomatic smile. "We'll take the marksmanship challenge, Ambassador. Humanity may surprise you." The conference room's holoprojector sprang to life as they entered, displaying the competition arena. A massive zero-gravity chamber filled with moving targets, obstacles, and environmental hazards. Corex's aide, a smaller Myraxian named Lara, began explaining the rules. Competitors must hit 50 targets within standard time units. Lara's harmonics translated. Points are awarded for accuracy, efficiency, and style. Energy weapons are, of course, standard. "We'll use our own weapons," Sarah interrupted smoothly. She could feel the Myraxians' surprise rippling through their crystalline forms. "Projectile weapons." Corex's tone carried clear disdain. "In zero gravity, against moving targets. Captain, we appreciate your species' pride, but surely you realize." Sarah raised her hand. "Ambassador, with respect, the rules state competitors may use any weapons of their choosing, unless that's changed." The Myraxians conferred in their harmonic language, their inner lights flickering rapidly. Finally, Corex turned back to Sarah. "Very well. Though I feel compelled to warn you, no species has ever qualified using such antiquated technology." Sarah smiled, and this time there was steel behind it. "Then we'll be the first." As the meeting concluded and the Myraxians departed, Rodriguez finally let out a long breath. "They think we're jokes, Captain. Did you see how their lights flickered when they saw my rifle?" "Let them think that," Sarah replied, watching the diplomatic vessel undock. She pulled up her comm unit, entering a priority code. "Get me Colonel Hassan. Tell him Operation Newton is a go." Rodriguez frowned. "Newton." Sarah's smile turned predatory. "What goes up must come down, Lieutenant, even in zero gravity, if you know exactly what you're doing." The next week saw Earth's best marksmen gathering at the embassy station. They came from military special forces, Olympic shooting teams, and cutting-edge weapons research divisions. Each brought with them specially modified rifles that looked deceptively simple to alien observers. What the Myraxians didn't know, what Sarah had bet humanity's future on, was that these primitive weapons contained centuries of ballistic science and recent quantum computing advances. Each bullet was a miracle of engineering, capable of limited course corrections and carrying enough processing power to make split-second trajectory calculations. As Sarah watched the practice sessions, she knew the Myraxians' dismissal of human technology would be their undoing. Sometimes the oldest solutions, refined and perfected over centuries, could outperform the flashiest new innovations. The competition was scheduled for 3 days' time, 3 days to prove that humanity deserved its place among the stars, 3 days to show that sometimes the simplest approach was the deadliest. Sarah touched the small Earth insignia on her collar, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. The Myraxians and the rest of the galaxy were about to learn a valuable lesson about underestimating humans. Hidden agenda. The embassy station's observation lounge was unusually crowded the next morning. Alien diplomats from a dozen species had arrived to witness the upcoming competition, their varied forms creating a living tableau of galactic diversity. Sarah watched them from her usual spot by the viewport, nursing a cup of coffee while her enhanced contacts recorded and analyzed every interaction. "Quite the audience we're drawing," Rodriguez murmured, appearing beside her with his own steaming cup. "Though not everyone seems happy to be here." Sarah followed his gaze to a cluster of Myraxians huddled near the far wall. Their crystalline forms were clouded, inner lights pulsing in what she'd learned to recognize as agitation. Among them stood Corex, engaged in what appeared to be a heated discussion with the new arrival, a towering figure whose obsidian skin seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "That's Ambassador Vex of the Shadowkin," Rodriguez supplied, noticing her interest. "Supposedly they're neutral observers, but intelligence suggests they've been pushing hard against Earth's admission." Sarah's contacts highlighted subtle energy signatures emanating from the group. "They're using privacy fields," she noted. "Strong ones. Good thing the quantum microphones Colonel Hassan installed last week don't care about privacy fields," Rodriguez replied with a slight smile. He tapped his own contacts, linking their feeds. The translated conversation filtered through their secure channel. "Cannot allow them to succeed," the Shadowkin ambassador was saying. "Their technology is too unpredictable, too dangerous. The competition parameters are set," Corex responded, his harmonics strained. "We cannot change them now without raising suspicions, then ensure they fail." Vex's voice carried the finality of an order. "The humans' reliance on projectile weapons makes them predictable. Use that." Sarah kept her expression neutral as she processed this information. "Interesting that they consider our primitive technology a threat," she murmured. "Captain Chen." The booming voice of Ambassador Corex cut through her thoughts. The Myraxian leader approached, his form now perfectly transparent again. "I trust your competitors are prepared for tomorrow." "As ready as we'll ever be," Sarah replied with a diplomatic smile. "Though I couldn't help but notice some last-minute changes to the arena configuration." Corex's inner lights flickered briefly. "Merely standard adjustments. We want to ensure a fair test for all participants." "Of course," Sarah nodded. "Though it seems unusual to modify the gravity generators 12 hours before the competition." This time, the flicker in Corex's form was unmistakable. "You detected those modifications. We may use projectile weapons, Ambassador, but our scanning technology is quite sophisticated." Sarah took another sip of her coffee. "I'm sure the changes are, as you say, completely standard." As Corex hurried away, Rodriguez leaned closer. "You rattled him, Captain." "Good," Sarah replied. "Because now we know for certain this isn't just a competition. It's a trap." Over the next few hours, Sarah gathered her team in a secure briefing room. Colonel Hassan's hologram dominated one wall, his weathered face grave as he reviewed the latest intelligence. "The arena modifications are extensive," he reported. "They've installed graviton pulse emitters at key points, designed to activate during the competition. One burst would be enough to send any bullet off course." "Can we counter it?" Sarah asked. Hassan's hologram smiled. Already done. The quantum processors in our realms don't just calculate trajectories. They can detect and compensate for gravitational anomalies. It's something we developed for asteroid mining. But it should work here too. They're not just trying to make us miss, Rodriguez added, scrolling through data on his tablet. Look at these energy readings from the Shadowkin ship. They're charging something big. Sarah studied the readings, her enhanced contacts highlighting patterns that seemed oddly familiar. Those signatures, they match weapons tests we detected during first contact. They're arming for combat. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The competition wasn't just rigged. It was a prelude to something far worse. Options? Sarah asked. We could withdraw, Rodriguez suggested, cite diplomatic concerns, and prove we're exactly as primitive as they think we are. Sarah shook her head. No, we play their game, but we play it our way. She turned to Hassan's hologram. Colonel, how quickly can you modify our competition loads with the new graviton compensation data? 4 hours, maybe 5. But Captain, if we show this capability, we'll be revealing technology we'd rather keep secret, Sarah finished. But if we don't, we might not get another chance. The Shadowkin aren't known for their patience. The next few hours were a blur of activity. As the station's day cycle dimmed to night, Sarah stood in the armory, watching technicians make final adjustments to their competition weapons. Each rifle now contained enough computing power to run a small city, though they still looked like simple projectile weapons to casual observers. Final diagnostics are green, Rodriguez reported, though I'm still not sure about this plan. If we're right about the Shadowkin's intentions, then we need to give them a reason to reconsider, Sarah said firmly. Sometimes the best defense is a demonstration of strength, even if it's not the kind of strength they're expecting. As she prepared to leave, Sarah's contacts highlighted a new message from Earth Command. Intelligence confirms Shadowkin fleet movements. Multiple vessels on approach vectors. Good luck, Captain. The fate of Earth may depend on tomorrow's performance. Sarah squared her shoulders, touching her insignia once again. Tomorrow would either mark humanity's acceptance into galactic society or the beginning of an interstellar war. Either way, they would show the galaxy exactly what humans were capable of. The hidden pattern. The competition arena looked different in the artificial pre-dawn light. Sarah stood at the preparation area, watching maintenance drones make their final adjustments to the course. Her enhanced contacts painted the space with ghostly overlays, highlighting the hidden graviton emitters and power conduits that shouldn't have been there. Final systems check complete, Rodriguez reported quietly, his own augmented vision scanning the arena. They've added something new. Look at the target patterns. Sarah adjusted her visual filters and saw it immediately. The supposedly random arrangement of targets formed a subtle but distinct pattern, one that would force competitors to fire through specific zones of altered gravity. Clever, she murmured. They're not just trying to affect our shots. They're hurting us. A soft chime announced the arrival of the other competitors. The Myraxian team entered first, their crystalline forms housing sophisticated energy weapons that pulsed with barely contained power. Behind them came representatives from 3 other species, each carrying their own advanced armaments. Captain Chen. Corex's harmonics carried artificial warmth. I trust you're prepared for today's demonstration. More than you know, Ambassador. Sarah smiled, noting how his inner lights flickered at her confidence. Though I'm curious about the late additions to the course. Before Corex could respond, the obsidian form of Ambassador Vex materialized from the shadows. Merely standard safety protocols. The Shadowkin diplomat interjected smoothly. We wouldn't want any accidents with your primitive projectiles. Sarah's contacts highlighted subtle energy signatures emanating from Vex's form. Weapons, carefully concealed but definitely present. Of course not, she replied. Safety is our primary concern as well. As the aliens moved away, Rodriguez touched his earpiece. Colonel Hassan reports the Shadowkin fleet has entered the system. 6 vessels, running dark. Sarah nodded slightly. Right on schedule. Is everything in place? Team 2 is in position. They've identified all 37 graviton emitters. Rodriguez paused. Though I still don't understand why we're letting them cheat. Because, Lieutenant, Sarah's smile turned predatory. Sometimes the best way to counter a trap is to spring it. Exactly when and how you choose. The competition began with the Myraxian team. Their performance was spectacular, energy weapons painting the arena with brilliant light as they struck target after target. The crowd of diplomatic observers applauded appreciatively. Sarah used the time to make final adjustments to her rifle's quantum core. The weapon looked deceptively simple, just wood and metal to alien eyes. They couldn't see the crystalline processor web woven through its stock or the microscopic gravity sensors studding its barrel. Energy readings are spiking, Rodriguez whispered. The Shadow kinships are charging weapons. Hold position, Sarah commanded. Let them think they have us exactly where they want us. When humanity's turn came, Sarah stepped onto the firing line. The arena stretched before her, a maze of obstacles and moving targets that should have been impossible to navigate with primitive projectile weapons. Beginning human demonstration, the automated announcer declared. Standard time limit applies. Sarah raised her rifle, and her world transformed. Her enhanced vision merged with the weapon's sensors, showing her not just the targets but the invisible waves of gravitational distortion waiting to trap her shots. The pattern was beautiful in its complexity, and in its fatal flaw. What they don't understand, she sub-vocalized to her team, is that gravity doesn't just deflect bullets, it can guide them. Her first shot cracked through the arena. To observers, it appeared to miss wildly, curving away from its intended target. But Sarah was watching through different eyes. The bullet sliced through a graviton field, its quantum core using the distortion to alter its trajectory. Like a stone skipping across water, it curved around an obstacle, through another gravity well, and struck its target dead center. The diplomatic gallery fell silent. Impossible, she heard Krex whisper. The gravitational distortion. Sarah was already firing again. Each shot seemed to defy physics, using the very traps meant to defeat them as impromptu guidance systems. Her bullets danced through the arena like living things, turning the Myraxians' own technology against them. Shadowkin vessels are moving, Rodriguez reported tensely. Weapons hot. Good, Sarah replied between shots. Because we're not just shooting targets. Her next round corkscrewed through 5 gravity wells before striking a hidden graviton emitter, destroying it with surgical precision. We're dismantling their entire trap, piece by piece. The arena erupted into chaos as the aliens realized what was happening. Sarah continued firing methodically, each shot serving 2 purposes, hitting the official targets while systematically eliminating the hidden network of gravitational traps. This is impossible. Vex's voice boomed across the arena. These primitives cannot. Cannot what? Ambassador. Sarah called back, her rifle cracking again. Cannot understand gravitational physics. Cannot adapt your own technology against you. Cannot see through your transparent attempt to sabotage us. The Shadowkin's obsidian form seemed to ripple with rage. You have no idea what you're dealing with, human. Actually, Sarah smiled as her final shot destroyed the last graviton emitter. I think we do. Part 4. Turning Point. The arena's lighting flickered as emergency systems engage. Ambassador Vex's obsidian form seemed to grow, darkness spreading from him like oil on water. Behind him, the Myraxian delegation's crystalline forms clouded with anxiety. You understand nothing. Vex's voice resonated through the chamber. Your species is too dangerous to be allowed into the Confederation. Your primitive weapons, your ability to adapt and repurpose technology, it makes you unpredictable. Sarah kept her rifle trained on the Shadowkin ambassador, her enhanced contacts tracking multiple energy signatures now emanating from his form. Unpredictable, or just unwilling to play by your rules. "The Confederation requires order," Vex declared. "Your kind brings chaos. Your weapons may be simple, but your minds." He gestured, and shadows coalesced around him like armor. "We've seen how quickly you advance, how readily you turn others' innovations to your own use. You're a plague waiting to spread. That's not your decision to make." Correct stepped forward, his crystalline form pulsing with unexpected authority. "The competition parameters were clear. They've more than proved their worth. They've proved they're exactly the threat we feared." Vex's form rippled, and suddenly the shadows around him sprouted writhing tendrils. "The Shadowkin consensus has already voted. Humanity will not join the Confederation. They will not join anything." Sarah's tactical display lit up with warnings as the Shadowkin fleet began moving into attack positions around the station. But she noticed something else, something in the way the shadow tendrils moved. Her contacts highlighted a familiar pattern in their energy signature. "Rodriguez," she subvocalized, "are you seeing this?" "Yes, Captain." His reply was tense but controlled. "The shadow manipulation. It's using the same graviton technology they tried to use against us, just at a much higher intensity." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "Exactly. They're not so different from our bullets after all. Colonel Hassan, is the package ready?" "Uploaded to your rifle's quantum core." Hassan's voice came through clear. "But Captain, this is theoretical technology. We've never tested it at this scale. No time like the present." Sarah adjusted her grip on her rifle. "Ambassador Vex, I'm going to give you one chance to stand down. Call off your fleet." The Shadowkin's laughter filled the chamber. "Or what, human? You'll shoot me with your primitive weapons. Our gravitic shields can deflect any physical projectile. Good thing we're not just shooting bullets anymore." Sarah's rifle cracked once, the sound echoing through the suddenly silent arena. The bullet that emerged was unlike anything the aliens had seen before. As it struck Vex's gravitational shield, instead of being deflected, it created a cascade of quantum interactions. The shield's own energy was caught in an endless feedback loop, turning inward on itself. Vex's shadow tendrils wavered, then began to dissipate. What have you done?" "Graviton entanglement," Sarah explained, charging another round. "Your shields don't just deflect our bullets, they guide them. And now they're guiding something else, a quantum virus that turns your own gravitational manipulation against you." Around the station, the Shadowkin fleet's weapons suddenly went dark as the entanglement effect spread through their linked gravitational systems. Vex's obsidian form began to crack, light seeping through as his control over shadow matter failed. "Impossible," he whispered. "This technology, you couldn't have developed this so quickly." "Actually, we didn't develop it at all," Sarah corrected him. "We just recognized the potential in your own technology. You were so focused on stopping our bullets, you never considered we might use your countermeasures as a weapon themselves." The diplomatic gallery erupted in murmurs as Vex's shadow armor completely dissipated, leaving him exposed. Correct stepped forward again, his crystalline form now blazing with internal light. "The Shadowkin consensus has overstepped," the Myraxian ambassador declared. "They acted without Confederation approval, attempted to sabotage a sanctioned competition, and nearly initiated an unauthorized war." He turned to Sarah. "Captain Chen, on behalf of the Confederation, I offer our deepest apologies." Sarah lowered her rifle but kept it ready. "Accepted, Ambassador. Though I think we need to have a longer discussion about humanity's place in the galaxy." "Indeed," Correx agreed, "though perhaps not about the topics we originally intended. Your species has demonstrated capabilities far beyond our expectations, not just in weapons technology, but in understanding and adapting alien systems." He paused, lights swirling thoughtfully. The Confederation could learn much from humanity's unique perspective. As security drones surrounded the now powerless Vex, Sarah allowed herself to relax slightly. The immediate crisis was over, but she knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had proven itself not just capable of joining galactic society, but of fundamentally changing it. "Lieutenant Rodriguez," she called, "please inform Earth Command that the situation is contained. And tell them," she smiled, watching the Shadowkin ships power down one by one, "tell them we're going to need more diplomats." A new dawn. 3 days after the competition incident, the embassy station's observation deck was more crowded than ever. Representatives from dozens of Confederation species had arrived, drawn not by the prospect of a shooting competition, but by the revelation of humanity's true capabilities. Sarah stood at her usual spot by the viewport, watching the steady stream of diplomatic vessels arrive. Her enhanced contacts identified ships from species she'd never even heard of before, each eager to establish relations with Earth. "Final report from Earth Command," Rodriguez said, joining her with 2 cups of coffee. "The Shadowkin fleet has been escorted from the system. Their leadership is struggling with the implications of Vex's actions." "And the technology we revealed?" Sarah asked, accepting one of the cups. "That's the interesting part." Rodriguez grinned. "Apparently, half the Confederation is scrambling to establish research partnerships with us. They're fascinated by our primitive approach to advanced physics." Sarah nodded, watching a crystalline Myraxian ship execute a perfect docking maneuver. "Sometimes the oldest solutions are the best ones. We didn't try to master gravitational manipulation like the Shadowkin. We just learned to dance with it." Speaking of dancing, Rodriguez nodded toward the approaching figure of Ambassador Crex, his crystalline form now adorned with new markings of authority. "I think our dance card is about to get very full." "Captain Chen." Crex's harmonics carried genuine warmth now. "The Confederation Council has completed their deliberations. We would like to discuss humanity's future role in galactic society." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Just our membership?" "Actually," Crex's inner lights pulsed with what she now recognized as excitement, "we're proposing something more. Your species has demonstrated an unprecedented ability to understand, adapt, and improve upon diverse technologies. More importantly, you've shown wisdom in how you apply these capabilities." "We did what was necessary," Sarah said simply. "Nothing more." "Exactly." Crex gestured to the gathered diplomatic fleet. "You had the power to destroy the Shadowkin ships, yet you chose to disable them. You could have humiliated them, yet you offered them dignity in defeat. These are not the actions of primitives. They are the actions of a species ready not just to join galactic society, but to help lead it." Sarah's contacts highlighted subtle changes in the ambassador's crystalline structure, patterns that indicated absolute sincerity. "Lead it." "The Confederation has grown stagnant," Crex admitted. "We've become so focused on our advanced technology that we've forgotten simpler solutions often work better. Your perspective, your ability to see new applications for old ideas, this is exactly what we need." Rodriguez whistled softly. "That's quite a change from viewing us as primitive upstarts. The best leaders are those who can admit when they were wrong." Crex's form shimmered with what might have been embarrassment. "We offer humanity not just membership, but a seat on the Confederation Council itself. Your first task would be helping us establish new protocols for technological integration and adaptation." Sarah took a long sip of her coffee, considering the implications. "And the Shadowkin?" "We'll need time to adjust," Crex acknowledged. "But they're not the power they once were. Your demonstration showed the galaxy that technological advancement isn't just about having the newest innovations. It's about understanding the fundamental principles behind them." Through the viewport, Sarah watched as more ships arrived, each representing species eager to learn from humanity's unique approach. Their primitive technology had proven that true advancement wasn't about abandoning the old for the new, but about finding ways to make them work together. "Very well, Ambassador," she said finally. "Earth accepts your offer, though I suggest we start by redefining what we consider primitive technology." Crex's lights pulsed with amusement. "Indeed. Perhaps we should begin by examining these remarkable rifles of yours. Our weapons developers are particularly interested in how you managed to integrate quantum computing into such a simple mechanical system." Sarah smiled, touching the Earth insignia on her collar. "That's the beauty of human engineering, Ambassador. We don't try to reinvent the wheel. We just find new ways to make it turn." As she turned to follow Correx to the council chambers, Sarah caught her reflection in the viewport. Behind her, the gathered ships of the Confederation glittered like stars, no longer representing an intimidating display of alien superiority, but a promise of partnership and shared discovery. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not by mimicking advanced alien technology, but by staying true to their own ingenuity and wisdom. In proving themselves ready to join galactic society, they had also shown the galaxy a new way forward, one that balanced innovation with tradition, power with restraint, and advancement with understanding. The future that awaited them would be challenging, but Sarah knew that humanity was ready. They had shown the galaxy that being primitive didn't mean being simple. It meant having the wisdom to see value in every solution, no matter how basic it might seem. As the doors to the council chamber opened before her, Sarah smiled. The real adventure was just beginning.